lost. Oop. There we go. Hello, everybody out there. Welcome back to Comics for All. This is our second Ink and Insight of the evening, which is really exciting. So we get to do 2 streams today. But today I'm joined by 2 co-creators. I've got Ben Ferrari and Kurt Belcher, creators of Kanin the Marauder. So we're going to delve into Kanin number 3. But thanks for coming on, guys. Glad to see you again. And how's everything going? And Ben and Kurt, I know you've already answered this question, but what kind of hooked you guys into comics as a reader? Ben, if you want to start us off.
Comics as a reader was 40 years ago when I was 10 years old. Pulled G.I. Joe and Transformers off the spinner rack at a 7-Eleven down the street from my house in Orange County, California. And except for probably 2 or 3 points a year or 2 each, not collecting. Besides those short stints, I've been reading comics the whole time. So,
love that. About you, Kurt?
For me, it was my older brother. He was the one that collected comics before me, read comics and loved them, and he passed down a bunch of them to me. So when I was a kid, reading those and then getting into art and started doing drawing art when I was really young, it just, made sense for me to read comics and maybe one day, hopefully, make them. So kind of a dream come true.
That's fair, and that actually goes right into my next question. Is for both of you, when did you have the realization for yourself that you wanted to be part of the comics community and be creative and be part of that space?
For me, it was pretty young. I mean, I love comics, so I'm sorry, Brandon, I cut you off.
No, go ahead.
No, for me, it was young. I thought maybe someday I could do this for fun or eventually try to make a career out of it, and I was kind of waffled between those two. So that's pretty much how I got into it.
I don't know, it's kind of a complicated question, I guess, because
it is.
I just stumbled into a job with Liefeld at Extreme Studios when I was 18, right out of high school. And it was the best time ever, etc. But so I guess previous to that, when I met him at church. And that's when I was like, I'm going to try and get a job with this guy. He is making comics right down the street, and this is the New Mutants days. And the idea of working in comics, that was the first time it even occurred to me. And that ended, and I didn't think much about making comics for a couple of years. Now we're at about 2000 or so, and I just started drawing this book called Long Hunters. Just started making them. Still hadn't occurred to me that I'd do it full time or try to make a living at it, certainly. And over the next couple of years, I finished 4 of them, and I think I met Kurt and half a dozen other guys and girls on digital webbing, and then we just started making them full time. Kurt, maybe that was Facebook actually when I met you. I don't know, but when I started making them full time in maybe 2009, 2010, then it was like, okay, I'm going to keep doing this. This is important to me. I enjoy it. It wasn't just a hobby anymore. Which I'm still not doing it full time. So officially, it is a hobby, but that's when I started taking it seriously.
Oh, the stories Ben could tell you about Liefeld. Right, Ben?
I have a lot of stories, yeah. most of them good. Most of them good stories.
That's good. I know sometimes he gets a bad rap or kind of bad reputation.
Yeah. If you want to talk about him for a minute.
Sure.
I love his podcast. I don't listen to it as much as I have in the last couple of years, but he started a podcast, Robservations, when the pandemic started, and it is fantastic. The guy is he has a very good, he retains information, all these stories and experiences that he's had since he was a kid. He's able to draw them and he presents a good story, personality wise, when you know him, he can be a very difficult, terrible person. But that aside, I still listen to his podcast because I enjoy it. He's got a bead on the industry. He's got his on the pulse. So
Yes.
He's got so much experience in the field. He's been doing this for what, like 40 years? So
40,
even if you don't like his art and you don't like him, he's got so much information he puts out there.
He's done it all.
Yeah, he really has done a little bit of everything.
Characters and comics, a lot of crap too. That's the truth. But I'll never take away what he's done. He's accomplished a lot. So anyway, yeah, I guess that's where we're at.
Well, that leads into another good question. Reader centric, of course, since being a comics librarian, and you both have answered this in the last time you were on. But since the last time you were on, have you read anything that's kind of stuck with you, either indie, major, or both?
Yeah, my genre these days is swords and sandals. That's swords and sorcery, Conan, and so that's where our book Kanin the Marauder, came to life based on that archetype. But I don't know if you guys have heard of this. It's called Babs. Garth Ennis and Jason Burrows for Ahoy, and it's extremely good. It's very funny. It's a light-hearted take on the swords and sandals, archetype. There's a talking sword, which seems to be kind of cliche these days. A lot of talking weapons, but that one's really good. So that's at the top of my stack, along with G.I. Joe and Transformers. Both are very, very good, better than they've ever been.
Oh yeah, I agree.
So, yeah. Kurt?
For me, it's the Absolute books from DC. Have been incredible.
They're knocking it out of the park, man, with every title.
Yeah, for me, they're all good, but for me, it's Martian Manhunter, and that's the one. I've always liked that character, and so this is sort of like distilled everything down, like all the Absolute books have done. I've distilled it all down into one, prime story, and Martian Manhunter has just been killing it.
Cool.
Yeah, I have a copy of that in my room. I haven't got to it yet.
Definitely read it. It's really good. And have you read the Wonder Woman, the Absolute Wonder Woman?
Yes, I've read the first volume of that they have out. I think there's 2 volumes out now.
Yeah, I really dig that one as well.
Did you pick up the annual? Because I typically don't read it. I definitely got the first 2 issues, and I never got back to it. But then I picked up this annual that came out just a week or 2 ago, and that was one of the best comic book stories I've read in a long time. Mm-hmm. So they won me over. I'll be reading that book regularly.
It was Tom King still the writer on the annual?
I think it was the regular writer, not Tom King.
Or not Tom King. Yeah, there's somebody else on it.
Scott Snyder.
No, it's I think it's isn't it a woman?
Absolute Wonder Woman. Yeah, somebody. Kelly Thompson, right?
Yes.
There we go. Completely messed that one up. Sorry, Kelly.
Excellent book. Totally recommended. So I think I want to get back to the Martian Manhunter, because I read the first issue of that. Also, I kind of picked up the number 1s when they came out, just because. But I didn't give them much of an opportunity. Just seemed like another iteration. Who knew that they'd be the most popular things in comic book land?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's a good point. So for the viewers out there who haven't met either one of you before, how do you guys describe yourself as comic creators, or what do you get to do in the comics world? What all do you get to do?
What do we do, Kurt?
Pretty much everything on the publishing and creating the books, putting the books together, doing all the details. A lot of other people would probably find really boring and really challenging, but he's really good at it. And I do a little bit of everything. I draw, I write, I ink, I color some, I letter a little bit. I've been trying to learn to letter. I've been trying to get to a point where I can do like an entire book myself and not have to depend on anybody else to do any of the roles on it. And so, I'm not very good at it yet, but I'm getting there.
I'll speak to that. Kurt sent me a PDF for a book that he's finishing up right now called Storage Horrors. And I was impressed. I've been working with him for a long time, but story after story, there I see Kurt's name in colors and letters, and I know he's been dabbling in colors and he's getting a lot better over time. But these colors look great. These colors
that was
look
kind
great.
of by necessity more than anything else, because I
Yeah,
didn't
they're
know
expensive.
a lot
You
of
gotta,
people
you
had
know.
time, to fill in those roles, and so I was like,
Yeah.
I might have.
But lettering too. I didn't know you were lettering at all. So seeing multiple stories with Kurt Belcher as colorists and letterers, I was like,
Hey,
he's becoming more of a force.
I don't think people give that enough credit. People who do that. I mean, that's a hard skill to learn and to get good at.
Absolutely.
And I give all props to the letterers on that.
Well, especially as someone who reads a lot of comics, the lettering for me makes or breaks the story. Like if the lettering is good, I'm in. But if the lettering is just like, I'm it's not pulling me in here.
You have to know what you're doing.
Yep.
The brain wants to read it a certain direction. If you're not putting those balloons in the right spot, it's a fail, and people notice.
100%. So the main reason we're here today is to talk about, Kanin the Marauder #3 campaign, which I actually put in the chat for everybody. So make sure to pull up the campaign and look it up. We're going to talk about it quite a bit here. So Ben and Kurt, for people who haven't heard of Kanin before, can you give us kind of a pitch of who he is, a character, and what in the heck is he getting into?
Well, he's a rabbit barbarian. We call him a bunbarian, which is thanks to my pal Lindsay for that one, because she came up with that for me. But he's a rabbit barbarian who lives in this fantasy style world. We've kept it pretty simple and pretty down to earth. There's not a lot of magic. There's not a lot of science fiction or science fantasy or whatever you want to call it. It's a fairly down to earth kind of thing. There's some monsters and things like that in there, but not a lot. But yeah, I mean, it's just him adventuring through this world and trying to survive and trying to live by his own code. It's sort of Ben and I have kind of said it's Usagi Yojimbo meets Conan the Barbarian, essentially, and that's a pretty close description.
And the first arc, the first 4 issues, we're in the middle of it, has a feel, a vibe, a tone of Old Man and Cub. Is that what I'm looking for? Old Man and Cub.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Lone Wolf and Cub.
Lone Wolf and Cub. Sorry.
There we go.
Lone Wolf and Cub, this classic anime manga, I guess, story about a guy taking this kid around, Japan. He's a samurai, Ronin. And anyway, this story, this first arc really feels like it. It's got an apprentice. It's got a kid. It's got the old warrior. They're having adventures together. We have a cool twist on it at the end. It's nothing like, Lone Wolf and Cub, but it kind of has that vibe, As Kurt said, we're keeping it simple. I don't want a lot of science fiction in this or magic. A lot of Conan. I love Conan, but the magic stories and the sorcerers, that was always my least favorite of those adventure stories. I like the adventure more than the magic, I guess, is what it comes down to. So that's where we're keeping it tight, focused.
Love to hear that. So we're here to talk about the Kickstarter. If you guys can share kind of what's the core goal of the Kickstarter for issue #3. We're talking about funding production, expanding readership, or kind of building momentum for future issues like you talked about.
Right. Well, the basics of a Kickstarter is paying for a print run, You want to be able to obviously print enough copies for the buyers, for the supporters, for the backers. But you also want copies to sell at conventions, and have a stock basically for future sales. That's a big part of it, And
the book is completely done, There's no production at all needed on it. It's all there.
Yeah. We've paid the colorists already. We've paid the letterer. Kurt and I work for free. We'll split whatever's left. If there's money at the end, we'll split it, but that's usually pretty tiny.
Yeah.
We're doing this for the print run, so we can have copies to sell at conventions, is what it comes down to. But beyond that, what you mentioned was growing the audience. We think this is a great character. We've got a fantastic set of cover artists on it, and we have big plans. And so we have lots of stories to tell in different portions, different periods of his life. I call it the eras. The eras of Kanin the Marauder. There's 4 of them. The first one is Lil Kanin.
We will learn as
Yeah.
There we go.
So, 4 different eras. Lil Kanin, young Kanin the Rebel, Kanin the Marauder, and then old man Kanin. So, we just want to keep doing it for a long time, and we have to be able to afford it, which means, there are colorists to pay, there are letterers. Now that we have Kurt lettering, maybe we can, maybe we don't have that cost anymore. But, so we gotta pay some stuff. Yeah, I guess that's about that. That's the goal: expand the readership and make enough for a print run and some miscellaneous costs. Kurt, am I missing anything?
I think each issue of this kind of stands on its own. It tells a story over all 4 issues that we've got planned for this series, but each issue kind of has its own identity, like an individual Conan story told in each issue, sort of a done in one. But if you want to read more, you can go on and read the next issue as well. And after the first issue, he kind of picks up a sidekick, and then the second issue, they battle some air pirates and some creatures, some flying creatures. This one, they go to sea and have some adventures there.
Yeah.
All right, unmuted myself there. So I've been kind of showing some of the cover art, but if you guys can talk about kind of any of the variant covers, if there's any particular sketch tiers, original art for sale, what are some of the cool rewards that backers can get into?
Yeah, so for every issue, we've been doing 3 regular covers. We got to this issue, of which that was one that you were just showing. That was a Nicola Arcuti. Those are regular covers that you've shown so far. This one here, Little Kanin Adventures, that's the first sort of limited edition. We're doing 30 printed total ever. I'm going to sign and number them 1 through 30. And so those go for $25 each. So they are pricey, but it's extremely limited. When they're gone, they're gone. I'm not going to print anymore.
Right.
So that's the first time I've ever done any kind of variant limited edition on these books. We've got original art tiers as well. I probably have a half dozen original pages from the first couple issues. There is a cover left to be taken from issue 2. That's on there. So yeah, we're keeping it kind of simple, but occasionally we'll venture out and do some different things like this variant. And yeah, I guess that's about it.
I think since I've supported the first 2 campaigns, I feel like this particular set of covers for issue 3 are maybe the best lineup so far. Just wanted to put that out there.
Right on. Yeah, that image there.
I love this cover.
Me too, and I love the white. I had a version with some color in the background, and it just takes away from that figure. This is Elias Martins doing the art, and it's one of the first images that was done, outside of me.
Outside of you, yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, and it was one of the first, and it's still one of my favorite by far. I love it. So.
Yeah, I would actually love to maybe see you guys do this as like a print unto itself. I feel like it's really striking.
Mm-hmm.
I could do a print of that. Absolutely. I'd like to do a T-shirt too.
Oh yes, that would look great on a shirt actually. So this is a good kind of a collaborative question for the 2 of you. What does a good day during a campaign like this look like for you guys? Are you kind of obsessively refreshing the page, or do you kind of schedule some time to look at it here and there and then focus on other things, or how do you guys approach kind of a live campaign on top of other things you're doing?
I refresh it pretty often.
Yeah, I'm a little bit of both. I mean, I start out like obsessively refreshing, but then I'm like, I have to pull myself away because that'll drive you crazy if you try to focus on that. It's like watching like election results come in, and just refreshing.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, come on, my guy needs to win. But
I can't get out of it. I have to promote it multiple times a day in as many interesting ways as I can. I can't just do the same piece of art with the same blurb. I have to think of interesting ways. I have to think of interesting places to,
Yep.
blue sky. It's like I'm never on blue sky, nothing against it, but I'm rarely there. But I try to make it there to tell that audience about it,
Yep.
And then that just gets me right, and I'm always copying the link, which takes me right to the page. I look at it constantly. That's the truth. This cover here is Seth Damoose, another fantastic cover with two female characters behind him as he's jumping off this ship. I love it. Love it.
How'd you guys get connected with Seth? Because he's a pretty well-known name, so I'm just kind of curious how you guys connected with him.
That was all Ben. I don't know how he got in touch with him.
Same way I connect with anybody. I message him and say, "Hey, I got this comic. Would you do a cover
come work
for
with
me?"
me.
Yeah, he did too. He was on the first issue, and then this was his second on the third issue. Hopefully, we'll have him back sometime.
All right. I'll just keep kind of putting artwork as we're discussing here. So now we get to dive in a little bit into kind of the world story and kind of the characters that's taking place in the Kanin the Marauder story. So issue 1 took us through forests and caves. Issue 2 kind of pushed the scale with things like desert zeppelins, pirate dust bunnies, it's been described. So where does the story kind of stand with issue 3 where is Kanin visually and where is the story at as well?
Go ahead, Kurt.
That's for you, Ben. No, he's actually riding pretty high, I think. After the second issue and into this issue, he's in a pretty good place, I think. He thinks I've got this sidekick that I can teach all these things, that I can take on adventures with me. Maybe one day he'll, take over doing the same kind of thing that I'm doing and have the same kind of outlook on the world, the same sort of moral code. And so he, I think, puts himself in a lot more danger in this issue than he's used to, just to try to go and save Famine, who is this sort of charge of his, ward of his. And he gets, I think he's almost becoming like a father figure to this kid in his mind.
Right. Okay.
We'll see where that goes in the next issue. Because there's a little bit of a bad history there, because his dad was a warlord in the first issue, of course, and so Kanin had to deal with him, if you will. And so there's some tension there, but I think Kanin believes he's gonna be able to bring this kid up right, so to speak.
Yeah, they're becoming friends, right? The kid,
he thinks he found a partner. I think somebody who looks at the world like he does.
Right. I think what you're saying about the first issue and the second issue, the settings, is another favorite aspect that we decided early on to put the character in as many different settings as we can. So the third issue, he's at sea. And I don't want to say what happens at sea, but Kurt came up with some really disgusting, interesting ways to put him through the ringers. And so you'll see a 2-pager. I haven't shown this art. I don't think I've shown the art at all, but I did a 2-pager, and it's crazy. It's crazy what we have this guy doing. Can we
say right now, Ben hated drawing that. He worked on that for like days. Like, oh God, I hate this. I can't.
It was hard.
This is so like pulling teeth for me. And I'm like, no, it looks great. Keep going, keep going.
Just tell him what we did. Go ahead. What can they expect?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't think we should say or show what the.
Right, we'll talk about it next time.
Yeah, we'll talk about it in the 4th issue after people have seen number 3, because it's funny, I think, and kind of disgusting the way that where they end up at the end of the issue.
Yes, where they end up at the end of the issue is ridiculously funny. But the only way I guess we can say this without spoilers is, do you remember the Family Circus cartoons?
Yes.
Is it Jeff? Is it I don't know which of the characters. They're all doing the walking and they're following a path.
Yeah, there's like a little dotted line.
Yes.
Through the whole scene. Yeah, it's sort of like that.
We actually have 2 instances in this issue where you're seeing the path of the characters. And the disgusting one, the one that is really unique that Kurt came up with, he's basically going through different areas of this thing, and it's hilarious. It's funny. It was a lot of fun, even though it was difficult.
I don't think Ben was completely on board with it at first, but he got into it because he was. I think when I sent that to him, he was like, "Really? That's what's going to happen? Are you sure you want to do that?" And I'm like, "I think it'd be kind of funny, you know."
How am I going to do this? Is what I thought. How am I possibly going to draw this?
We got a funny comment too from Chuck Pinot. He's apparently watching on Facebook. He said, "Is this a Kurt Belcher piece? It can't be if there's a million people on the cover."
Which one is he talking about? This one?
I'm not sure. I'm assuming he's probably referring to probably this cover. I'm assuming that had like a decent number of people on it.
Kurt doesn't do multiple people. I don't know. That's news to me.
Yeah, I tend to throw a lot of stuff.
Specific, Kurt or Chuck. I mean.
Yeah.
So we've got this mashup of kind of classic fantasy hero's journey with an anthropomorphic lead and pulpy action, obviously.
Yeah.
Kind of what are some of the non-comic inspirations? I guess I know we've touched on Conan and things like that, but are there any non-comic inspirations that have kind of played into the story building?
Nothing I can think of actively like inspiring it. Really, where the book starts is that I'll ask Ben, "What do you want to draw?" And he'll say, "Well, how about in this setting, or with this kind of creature, or this kind of enemy?" And I'll just go in and try to tick every one of those boxes, that he's put out there. Yeah. As far as inspiration, I mean, you can look at like Ursula K. Le Guin, trying to, excuse me, trying to tell the story with some kind of heart to it and some kind of emotional core. And, Ben always brings the art and really communicates, those characters' emotions and those close-ups that he draws of Kanin and all that. He kills it every time. I know he gets down on his art sometimes, but I'm like, I love it. I've worked with him forever. He'll have me.
And then Chuck did comment. He said, "I was talking about the cover. He didn't say which one, but I said I mean to say if there's not a million people on the cover."
Oh yeah, Kurt does like to pack in the characters. That's true.
So this is a good question for both of you, since you're really into Kanan's world. Who is your favorite side character so far?
I think so. In issue 3, the one you're about to read, Kurt came up with a couple of twins.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, that was it.
Twin pirates, and they're thieves. They're pirates, and he came up with them, and they assist Kanan on his quest to find this kid who's been kidnapped all over the ocean. And he actually developed a rhythm, a cadence, a method of speaking for these twins. It's kind of hilarious. It's like they speak as one. Is that the way to say it, Kurt? They sort of rhyme off each other. I'm reading this script, going, this is kind of brilliant. These aren't just a couple of women, doing their thing. He's added a layer of depth.
Yeah, it was fun to do this.
So I'd say those two, and I got another story in mind for the future. We're always kicking around story ideas for what are we going to do next, and we've probably talked about 8 to 10 different ideas for future stories, and my latest idea was getting back to these two, because they're seen at the very end of the story as well. They come back and make an appearance. And and so that was at issue 4, where we kind of will see them for the last time, in theory, at the end of this arc. Issue 5 is a standalone story. Kanan is out on his own, doing something totally different at a different period. And so we're talking about what's next. And I want to get back to these two. I'd have to find their names, Jonja and Yonja, something like that, right, Kurt?
Jonja and Yanya.
Yeah.
So, twin bunny pirates.
Yeah.
Absolutely love that. And you touched on this a few minutes ago, Ben, but if we can delve a little bit more into the different areas of Kanan, why and how from a different storytelling point of view, and then like you maybe even touch on too, this could be kind of the entry point for making almost like each era almost like its own standalone series in a sense.
I think about that all the time. As you said, and as I mentioned, we have 4 eras. And that's what we're looking at right there. Lil Kanin Adventures. He's a kid. He's a child, and so you have some sort of cutesy adventure with him. We try to get a little bit of depth with these cute adventures with this kid. Not too deep, but it's cute. But there's still some violence, and he's at we try to give it another layer. Calvin and Hobbes, really, you want some sort of questions being asked, something interesting to give the reader. So that's Little Kanin Adventures. We've done 2 shorts for that so far. The new one is going to be in this 3rd issue that's on Kickstarter right now. Young Kanin the Rebel. I thought maybe this would be too many eras in the beginning. I remember Kurt and Jay Hewer talking about adding this 4th one, and I'm like, come on, we already have three eras of his life. Are we really going to do it? And then, the more we talked about it, I definitely came on board. And what we're doing there is he's a teenager. It's in his teenage years. And my father-in-law, Mark Miyashiro, is helping plot Young Kanin the Rebel's short stories. And so we did I think it was in the 1st issue.
Yep.
Or
people are going to flip out over that one, I think.
What's that?
People are going to flip out over that one, I think, because it's got such the underground comics. Because your father-in-law came from underground comics.
That's what he does.
Francisco era, in the 60s and 70s. So that's the sort of sensibility he brings to the art on that one, and the storytelling on that one, and it's out of this world.
And the plot, storytelling, art. It's very reminiscent of those underground comics. And so we did 1 story already. He's doing the colors on the 2nd story.
He does the art, the lettering, everything right there on the page.
The first story, he did not do the colors. Seb Valencia did the colors.
Oh, right.
He's doing the colors on this new one. Seb is doing one of the covers. We're going to have we're going to have Young Kanin the Rebel cover when that story appears.
Uh-huh.
So, and then Kanin the Marauder is his middle years, his, middle age. That's, our age, basically, having adventures all over the place. And then Old Man Kanin is that last one there. And that is a Kurt Belcher gig. He is you finished the colors on a 3-issue story. That should show up in issue 4 in about 6 weeks. We'll put that on Kickstarter. And Old Man Kanin is a king, similar to Conan, except we decided that he wasn't going to be a very good king. We're putting a twist on it, and it's brilliant. Between all the 4 different eras, Old Man Kanin is I think my favorite. He looks cool, and the idea of him not being a great guy, he's a conqueror at that point. I think Kurt, you could probably expand on that a little bit. What's your thought for what it's going to look like? Because we talked about it initially, right? That he wasn't going to be a good king, and then you show him basically conquering in this 3-issue story that's coming up. What do you got?
Yeah,
what are you going to do?
I just finished that story, drawing that story and coloring that story the other day of him taking the throne. I just see it as, I don't know if I'll be drawing future installments of that era, but I just saw it as kind of him having to get used to the political life of a ruler, but also having to fight intrigue and backstabbing people in the background, and people who are pretending to be his pals and then turning around and planning his assassination, that kind of thing. Political machinations, basically. But yeah,
that's very Conan. That's very Conan, no doubt.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we actually got a comment on YouTube too. As someone said, Green Lantern Burks. I'm not sure who that is, but they said that Young Kanin is very R. Crumb.
Yeah.
That's right. That's very
pretty much. I mean, there was I tried to throw a reference in there to the fabulous Furry Freak Brothers. I don't know if you remember that, Ben. And Mark was like, no, I know the Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers. I'm going to change that to something completely else. You know, I don't want to put that in there, but yeah, I mean that's pretty much exactly what it is. Those underground comics with the X, you know, that came out back in the 60s and 70s. That whole era is exactly what the flavor of that is.
Yeah. So if I can ask Green Lantern Burks, are you saying that it's very R. Crumb because of what we're saying, or did you happen to read the book? I'm just curious if you could answer that when you have a moment.
Sure. So this is a good question for both of you. You guys, both of you are kind of multi-talented, jack of all trades in a sense. You've done writing, drawing, editing on different projects, you know, and working on anthologies and books like Always Punch Nazis, which I'd love to have you guys on to talk about at some point. How do you feel like those previous experiences are helping you collaborate on this kind of book in particular?
Well, you're relying on a lot of people for a big anthology, you know. He says he read it. That's awesome. I appreciate that. So, RJ Burks, I know who you are. Okay. So, you know, working on an anthology, you are relying on a lot of different people to do a lot of different things. And so you have to be flexible. You know, you have to be kind. You're not, you know, we're all collaborators, right? So if you, you know, and so that you learn to work with people, I think, is the best way to put it. You know? You have to be flexible, and you have to listen to other people's ideas, even if you see it a certain direction. You have to be able to give and take. Otherwise, you know, people aren't going to feel appreciated. They're not going to think you like their ideas, and they're going to walk. You know, they got.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be walked all over, especially when we're all doing this pretty much for fun. You know, there's a lot of people. There are people who need to do it for a living, but the majority of us just do it because we love it, and as a not a hobby, but you know, we would do it for free. Basically, is what I'm saying. So.
Yeah, for me, I think it's a very different collaborative process for me because it's mostly just me and Ben, and you know, we butt heads about story sometimes, but mostly we come out with, you know, exactly what we want to produce. But when it comes to those anthologies, you know, it's a completely different dynamic because there's so many different moving pieces in that, so many different stories, so many different ideas, so many different personalities trying to tell the story they want to tell, and you know, maybe it's too close to something else that's in the book, or maybe it's just there's something in there that you know, Ben or me or Jay doesn't agree with, like on Always Punch Nazis. But yeah, I mean, those are two, I think, very different feels as far as the collaborative process goes.
Yeah.
That's a fair point. And then this is actually a fun question that I haven't got to ask really people before. But a hypothetical, if you could drop Kanin as a guest star into any other of the comic titles that you guys have got to work on, which title and where would he cause the most trouble?
That's a tough one. Maybe Gru the Wanderer with Sergio Aragones.
There you go.
That'd be fun. Can you imagine like him meeting this bunny, you know, barbarian coming out of the woodwork to fight evil with him?
Yeah, I can't imagine that.
Crossing over with Kanin and Conan, you know.
I tried to get Sergio to do a Kanin piece. Did I tell you that? And they said he doesn't do other characters, I think is what it came down to. You know, he does Gru. If you want to buy a Gru original, he'll do one for you. But he wouldn't do a Kanin the Marauder. So, oh well. You know, that's the question of where he would go, or what comic book would it be interesting in. It brings up an idea we've discussed, and that is something in space.
Ooh, okay.
How do you do that, right?
How do you maraud in space?
Huh?
How do you go marauding in space?
Well, yeah, he's an adventurer, right? And there's adventure comics in space. So we've talked about it, and this is a little different than your question. I realize
that's okay,
but dropping him in a book that it would be interesting and different. We've discussed him simply being picked up by aliens, and you know, for various reasons, and taken into some starship. why not? The aliens show up all throughout science fiction and literature and everything else, and obviously every genre of comics. So, he's in this barbarian world, but there's still potentially aliens in the sky. And so I think that's what I'm looking forward to at some point. And our friend Alex DeLuca, who lettered the first 2 issues, and you've talked to as well, he came up with a really pretty good plot. It was a huge, epic story. And I think that's why I sort of shied away from it in the end. I passed on it. But he planted a kernel of an idea that is a good idea, taking Kanin the Marauder to space. So maybe we'll do something similar to his idea, something, influenced. Maybe it won't be related at all. But I think someday you're going to see somehow Kanin the Marauder, in the atmosphere, on the moon, in a starship somewhere, on a different planet. Yeah. We can do anything we want.
Full Star Wars world there.
Huh?
Sort of full Star Wars world there.
Star Wars, yeah.
Canon and Star Wars.
Yeah, so, there's all kinds of creatures in Star Wars. You can drop them in Star Wars. There you go. That's a good, easy answer.
Nice. Yeah. Well, for both of you, do you have any upcoming convention appearances as a creator or any conventions you're going to attend as a fan?
I just went to one 2 weeks ago, just to peruse and see some friends. The East Bay Con here in the Bay Area.
I've heard good things about that one.
It's a lot of fun. They get a bunch of good guests. It's medium, small size, but they do a good job. It's always fun. And they have a good back issue selection. That's really what I'm into at conventions these days. I think I told you last time we spoke that I was kind of taking a sabbatical from the shows, and including San Diego, which San Diego I've done the last, 3 out of 4 years with Red 5 Comics, my other publisher. But I'm taking a break from that, and I'm not doing any shows. I have nothing scheduled. There's only so much time of the day. My kids are getting old. Yep. I'd rather hang out with them. Maybe I'll get back to it. I'm sure I will. And I've been thinking lately. I have a big stock of books from things we've done recently, so it will be time to get back to it on a regular basis. Maybe when my kids are in college and not around.
That's fair. Kurt, about you?
They have a local con here. I'm sort of out in the boonies a little bit, but they have a local con here that I go to every time they have it, but I'm not sure if they're going to have it this summer. So that's something I'm going to have to look into and find out about.
Does Lexington or Louisville have any big art shows?
Yeah, they have some in Lexington. They have some pretty big, like horror and comic festivals and comic conventions down there. I haven't been to either one of those yet, but I would like to in the near future.
Nice.
How far away are those from you? What kind of
those are about Lexington's about 3 hours and Louisville's about 4 hours. So that's not too bad.
Not too bad. It's a good drive though.
So it's not like going 7 hours to go to Compton, right?
Yeah. It's a long way down there to Southern California.
Yeah.
So the current Kanin number 3 has 11 days left to go. Can you guys share with us, what's the date or the tentative date for issue 4 and kind of what's the plans for Kanin after issue 4? You touched on it a little bit.
Yeah. Well, it's every 6 weeks. Because these books are complete, I can order them, I can ship them as long as I got my act together.
Right.
We can do a new Kickstarter every 6 weeks for these things. And we've been good. We've been hitting all those dates. March 1st, we launched this one. 6 weeks will be mid-April. April 14th is when I have the next one scheduled. Maybe, I may have pushed that one back like 3 days because I learned that Sundays is a good day to launch a Kickstarter. It just happened to fall, excuse me, on a Sunday. All right, you ready for this? This is funny. I woke up Sunday morning and I had no idea that it was March 1st. Launch the Kickstarter. I haven't told that to Kurt yet. And I was like, I just looked at my calendar. I was like, I think Monday or Tuesday is March 1st. I better check. And I looked at my calendar. I'm like, it's now. It's like 7 in the morning. I'm sipping coffee. I'm like, holy crap. I have to launch Kickstarter
Yeah,
today.
because you came on Facebook and you were like, should I go ahead and launch that? I mean, it was like the day before. It was like January or February 28th or something like that. And you're like, should I go ahead and launch it? And I'm like, yeah, go for it. Really? Should I? Should I go ahead? And it's like the next day was when he
Because I thought that was days ahead, you know.
Yeah.
So, anywho, every 6 weeks, April 17th, I think, is a Sunday. I'm going to do it then because we always get to that low goal that I set within a first day, but this one was, I think, a little bit quicker.
Mm-hmm.
So it just seemed like a good day, and so that's going to be on Sunday. And then the next one will be issue 5, which I still need to finish. I have one more page to draw. Kurt is right behind me on inks. He has 23 pages inked. I'm working on the pencils for page 24.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not particularly happy with it, so it might take me a while. And then it's a matter of getting that one colored and lettered. And I think we're to probably take a break between issue 4 and 5 because of the time just to get it colored and lettered is going to be a while.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll have to get into some production on that one.
Yeah. But I have some new covers coming down the pike as far as colors. I've had some artwork for a while that I've been sitting on from others.
Nice.
I'm getting those colored. So we'll have a good 3 or 4 covers for issue 5. And then our good friend James Banderas Smith, who did a short story in issue 2. It's all blending together already. We're only on issue 3. I think it was in issue 2. It was this James Banderas Smith. He's extremely generous with his time, and he's extremely talented. And Kurt and I really
incredibly
productive. Huh?
He's incredibly productive. All the different artworks, and not even related to the story that he's going to tell, but just like promotional type artwork that he just turns out, and it's all awesome. It's amazing.
It's all awesome, right? So he's doing issue 6, and so I haven't seen much from it. I assume he's working on it regularly, but that's based on a story Kurt and I pitched, came up with, plotted. Kurt wrote a script, sent it to him, and he's on it. So that'll be issue 6. After that, I'm sure we'll take a break because I'll be doing the next one, and that'll take some time. I'd like to get Kurt on one of these days because his pages for Old Man Kanin are so good. Oh, that actually brings me back to something you asked. You kind of mentioned when you were talking about the eras, Jameson. This could be full books, and I think I want to do Old Man Kanin #1. I want to do Young Kanin the Rebel #1, and Little Kanin Adventures #1. Do a one-shot minimum.
Absolutely.
Because they're great. They're great ideas. We have talent behind them. A full book of Kurt doing Old Man Kanin would be fantastic. So hopefully we'll get to that one day.
And approaching these number of issues, have you guys discussed the plans for a trade in terms of collecting them in some form?
Oh, yeah. Thanks for reminding me. At some point, we'll put together. I haven't decided if the trade will be 4 issues or 5 or 6. Maybe we'll just wait 6 issues.
Yeah.
And put them all together. I could do 4, but then you have 2, floating issues out there that might be a while. So I'll probably, since we'll be done with
you also have the backups with the other eras that'll sort of, add a lot of pages to a collected edition.
That's right. It's going to be huge.
Yeah.
Which means expensive. So,
right.
So, yeah, lots of plans for it. We're already plotting the next one, as we talked about already. But, I got other ideas I want to do, too. Kurt and I have discussed doing an actual Conan book.
Okay.
Conan is in the public domain.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
As long as you use those, you don't use any characters created during the 40 years, 30.
Basically, any public domain like fantasy type characters, like you can throw together Conan, Oz, Wonderland, Neverland. All those books that have fallen into the public domain at this point. A lot of characters that you would expect to see in like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen by Alan Moore. But yeah, something kind of in that vein.
That's one thing we've discussed. Yeah. Doing that sort of thing, or creating 7 new fantasy characters and doing some sort of sword and sandals.
Yep.
Humans, right? Outside of Kanin. So
That sounds fun.
yeah.
So for both of you, for the viewers out there, where can they follow along to follow with Kanin, what's going on with the series, and where can people follow both of you individually?
I'm on Facebook, Ben Ferrari. I have a Pilot Studios page on Facebook as well. Pilot Studios Official on Instagram, as well as Threads.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I spend most of my time on social media anyway.
Kurt, how about you?
We lost him.
On Instagram, I'm Belcher Kurt. On Facebook, I think I'm Kurt.Belcher. On Blue Sky, you can just do a search for my name on there, and on Threads, I'm on both of those. I'm fairly active on those. I think probably the least one I'm active on is Instagram. I do some messaging on there, but not a lot of posting. So
Perfect. And the last question, both of you already answered this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Favorite snack or a meal to power yourself through a couple hours of working on projects?
Kurt, what are you eating? Oh. I think it's that Kentucky Wi-Fi.
Working a project for a few hours. I found these new chips. They're like a generic from Walmart, and it's like chili garlic flavor or something like that, like tortilla chips with chili garlic flavor. And I've gotten addicted to those. I buy like 3 or 4 bags of those every time I go to the store. They're so good and they're cheap. So
There you go.
they'll last me for a while.
I'm generally not eating while I'm working. I try not to eat while I'm working. Got kind of heavy over the last couple of years. So
would you try to kind of give yourself like a meal beforehand? So like you said, you're not eating during, but maybe give yourself some energy before you start powering through?
Oh, sure. My normal dinner.
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten used to eating at like 5 o'clock. I get home from work at 5:15 and I'm eating dinner typically. And then I'll start drawing at like 7. And so I'm generally not eating after that. Maybe a beer. That's about
There
it.
you go. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of our conversation today, guys. Thanks for coming on again. Any last thoughts you'd like to share with the viewers before we head out?
I wanted to talk about, I have another comic on Kickstarter right now called Spread. It's an adaptation of a movie that I co-wrote with coming to Tubi next little while. I'm not sure exactly when, but the comic adaptation is on Kickstarter right now. So we'll check that out. Spread Pigs to Slaughter is the name of that. And also my pal Travis Gibb has a new edition of Cthulhu Invades Oz, or one of those. One of the Cthulhu Invades Oz is on there right now. It's a second edition with new material inside of it. So definitely check that out as well.
I'm going to put the Spread link in the chat. I
just did.
Oh, you did?
Yep, just did.
Okay. Yeah. Good thing you brought that up, Kurt. We know a guy named Bobby Smith, as Kurt mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very nice guy. Hardworking filmmaker.
Yep.
And he's made a massive Western called Vengeance Turns. He broke it into 2 parts. It was so big.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that's on Prime. Is that right, Kurt?
It's on Tubi right now. I'm not sure if it's on Prime yet. It probably will be in the near future.
And then he and Kurt co-wrote another movie, slasher film, which is that link that you posted called Spread Pigs to the Slaughter. Really great horror film. So that guy needs a boost. He works his ass off, and then he wrote the adaptation with Kurt. And Kurt did the art on the Spread adaptation. So yeah.
I did some art for it. I did do the main artist on it, I think, is Branko Jovanovic, I think is his name.
Oh, okay.
But I've worked with Bobby quite a bit. I've drew a comic sort of sequel to Vengeance Turns, which
Okay.
is sort of tells the story after what happens after the credits rolls on Vengeance Turns, and that was a lot of fun. I mean, I've never really had a Western published before, but I'm a huge Western fan, and so that was I was really thankful to Bobby for getting me to do that, getting me to draw that.
Yeah, you have movies out.
He's a great actor, director, writer, producer. He does music, does pretty much everything.
In fact, he also does my videos for the Kanin the Marauder series.
Perfect.
Top of the, I send him a bunch of art and he comes up with cool videos and does voices over it and everything. So we really appreciate him, and he could use a boost on that Kickstarter.
Yeah, I may even, if you guys have a contact, you can have him reach out to me and he can come on the show and talk about it. So,
Absolutely.
Well, Kurt and Ben, thanks so much for taking time out of your guys' schedule to come on. It's been great to see you both again, and would love to have you both come on for issue 4 if you're up for it.
Absolutely. Anytime. It's always a lot of fun. That would be great.
Absolutely. Well, everybody, thanks for sticking with us through 56 minutes now. This has been Comics for All, where comics, creativity, and community all connect, and we will see you next time. Take care.
See ya.
See you guys.